Hi guys, so former Labour leader and Prime Minister Gordon Brown weighed in on the lack of movement by Boris Johnson's government to deal with the cost of living crisis. Brown described how there is a complete lack of urgency where families are being forced to choose between feeding electric meters and feeding themselves. He also mentioned the newest solution to this Tory crisis, warm banks or heating hubs, where people will huddle together in a school or library in order to fend off the cold during the night. What's sadly ironic about all of this is that Gordon Brown comes from Scotland, and he still seems to think that the people of that nation would be better off under the Tories than independent. Have a listen to him describe some of the problems people will face.
But it's this urgency that I feel is missing about the needs of people who are children, have been going to school ill-clad and hungry. We've got families having to choose between feeding their meters and feeding themselves. We see churches now discussing how they can run heating hubs during the winter months because they know that people can't afford to heat their homes. And the best we can hope is whether through blankets or through duvets or through even sleeping bags and hot water bottles, they can heat themselves. Remember that we're talking about the scale of a crisis that will affect 15 million households. We're talking about the severity that these households could be 30 to 40 pounds a week short of what is needed to pay their bills. And we're talking about the social consequences, which, as Pastor Maker's been talking about, is more children in care, more homelessness, more mental illness, more suffering. And this unbearable burden has got to be taken off the shoulders of the people who are least able to fend for themselves.
Now, everything he said here is correct. There are going to be serious problems, and many people are going to struggle over the next number of months and over the next year. Inflation is expected to remain at about 13% for a long period of time. How does Gordon Brown still believe it's a good idea for Scotland to remain part of the Union? Because if you look at the current government, Boris Johnson's administration, what is Boris Johnson doing at the moment? Is he dealing with this crisis? Of course he's not. He's playing pilot, he's playing soldier, he's dancing the night away at numerous parties. He's having fun. His priority is Boris Johnson. It has always been Boris Johnson, and now it's Boris Johnson. His priority is not dealing with this crisis. And who's going to replace him? Well, it could be Rishi Sunak, but it's more likely to be Liz Truss. And what has Liz Truss said about Scotland recently? Well, she was asked a question at one of these hustings, and she said, the First Minister of Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon, should be ignored because she's an attention seeker. Now, she did try to walk it back, I think, but the damage was already done. And also it's important to remember that when she did say that, she was cheered by the audience. So it's not like she said it and there was a bit of a boo or a silence. No, she was cheered on. But once again, how can Gordon Brown stand by this position that Scotland is better off part of the Union, better off under a Tory administration? Because at the moment, whatever Scotland wants to do, its hands are tied. It would like to help people out during this cost of living crisis, but it has a fixed budget. It can raise some taxes, it can't raise as much as it wants. It would like to have more powers, but who's in charge at the moment? Boris Johnson and his Tories with an 80-seat odd majority. While whatever the SNP would like to push through the Westminster Parliament will be shot down immediately. Even if the Labour Party wanted to help out, there's nothing they can do. Boris Johnson and his government, and whoever's going to replace him, are in complete control. And instead of actually providing more levers of power to the Scottish government, the Tories are taking power away from Scotland. They were never fans of devolution. Boris Johnson criticised devolution himself a couple of years ago. So you have a party in power that does not care about Scotland, a Prime Minister who's messing about, and his replacement saying she's going to ignore the First Minister. And it comes back to this simple question, Gordon Brown. Why do you think the Scottish people are better off under a Tory administration that doesn't give a crap about them. And we can add in Northern Ireland and Wales and England as well, because the Tories don't care about ordinary people in England. They care about people who donate to the party. But once again, Gordon, why is Scotland better off in this type of union than being independent? Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.